Hello, everybody. It's good to be back with you again here in the last week of June. Hard to believe that we're this far into what would be a normal growing season. We know there's been plenty of areas that have been very abnormal this year, and it feels more like spring than it does summer in some spots, especially here in Northwest Ohio. But let's just talk a little bit first. We're going to talk through corn and soybeans here today, but first I think we want to concentrate on prevent plant and those acres that are going to be left to lie here this growing season, and just talk through a little bit of the changes that have happened there. From a corn perspective, we know the corn prevent plant deadline is passed, and the June 25th prevent plant deadline for soybeans is here this week. So there's going to definitely be those areas of prevent plant here to talk about. And one of the biggest points and pieces of news that we got from the USDA last week was just the updated harvest deadline from the USDA in terms of harvesting a cover crop on prevent planted ground was changed from November 1st to September 1st to give anyone who's planning on planting a cover crop the opportunity to harvest that here after September 1st. So just talk a little bit about that from your perspective and what that does for the ground going forward here this summer with that cover crop added to it.
So agronomically, it makes a lot of sense to plant a cover crop on your prevent plant acres. So when you plant a cover crop, you're mainly going to achieve about three big things are the main points of concern. The one being the weed seed bank. So planting a cover crop is going to suppress those weeds, all those troublesome weeds. They aren't going to be able to set seed for the next year, causing you problems next year.
Okay.
It's going to prepare you for profitability next year, also by scavenging the nutrients within the soil, putting them in that organic matter, and then you can till that into the ground. And it's also going to help prevent runoff in this growing season, especially with these wet conditions. We have a lot of water running off the fields, so having those cover crops will really keep that moisture within the soil profile and those nutrients within the soil profile rather than going off into streams and rivers wherever we don't want them to go.
I think as we move forward here into talking about the corn and soybean complex that we've got in front of us, there's just a few things. I mean, I think with the way the market's gone here over the last few weeks, we've seen the corn and bean markets both rally here going forward, and I think it just from a grower perspective is absolutely crucial to take care of the crop that we have in the field. And just some points from your perspective, Jess, as we look at the way the corn and soybean plants are maturing, what are you seeing out there from an agronomic perspective in order to help ensure as much profitability as possible?
So in the plant nutrient side of things, when you're thinking of corn right now, it's the corn that's in the ground is getting to that side dress time. So we're going to want to apply some supplemental nitrogen to carry that corn through the season. And to get a snapshot of what your nitrogen in your soil looks like at this moment in time will be to perform a pre-side dress nitrate test, also known as a PSNT. So that test is taken at 12 inches, a 12-inch core as compared to the usual soil test 8-inch. With that, you're going to want to send that in ASAP or refrigerate it to send in as soon as possible, but to preserve those nutrients, to really know what nitrogen level you have in your soil at this moment in time, to know how much nitrogen you're going to have to apply to carry yourself throughout the season. When you get those results back, you really want to look for at least 25 parts per million, and that'll help carry you through the rest of the season, not considering additional rainfall. And considering nitrogen, it's a mass flow nutrient, so the more rainfall events we get, the more nitrogen you're going to lose from your soil profile. And then on the bean side of things, if you do have the ability to plant beans yet, if you can, planting with a starter will help this bean crop overcome the adverse weather conditions we're getting this season.
Okay. From a grain perspective, there's just a few things that we're looking at here this week. The first and foremost being the crop progress that we see every week and how that's been traded on our side of things. Every Monday we get that report. And the other big report here this week to keep an eye on and talk with your Anderson's grain buyer on is just the stocks and acre report that we'll get from the USDA on June 28th, which is this Friday. That'll come out at noon, and that'll give us really where we're at from an overall perspective here from an acre number, from a harvested yield expectation here as we go forward. They did adjust the USDA, that is being adjusting that yield number back 10 bushels to the acre in the last report. So that'll be reflective in this report here on Friday as well, if they choose to adjust it anymore, which they very well could. So definitely something to keep in mind there from a grain marketing and risk management perspective here this week. So that's all we've got for you now. Any questions, be sure and give your Anderson's rep a call. We'd be happy to help you out. And above all, stay safe out there this week, and we'll be back again next week. Thank you.